Mm-hmm.
Morning.
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 Oh no,
What's up?
that was a little morning.
All right. What do you
Not
got?
a good morning.
No, it's good. It's good.
Okay.
Got,
Okay.
got a lot of gears turning.
Oh, okay. Okay. I don't have a lot.
No, this entire time. Listen, you took a topic that you said was going to be about 30 seconds
That's
in length, and
true.
we went almost 2 hours with it. So
That's true.
you were wrong. I got to point that out.
I was wrong.
And at the same time, that was a good topic. So what's going on?
That was a good one. I don't know. I'm waiting. I'm waiting for my leave to kick in. Lots of pain this morning. I wish I had a good reason for it. I'm just old. Just old and everything hurts.
Okay.
You don't get that?
No.
Ever.
Like
you don't have like just the I'm 40 something and I moved yesterday and
No.
that hurts
See,
something.
when you take care of your health, right?
That's
that
what
doesn't
I'm
happen.
doing.
You're gonna have some,
Yeah.
decay because you're on your way to your death,
You're on your way out.
right? But if you don't take that into consideration, you know what's gonna
Yeah.
happen, right? You're gonna beat your body up, and it's gonna only repair so many times, and you got to take good care of this meat suit. And if you do
Yeah.
it, you don't go as fast.
At least one of the pains, I guess, is probably from working out. So I'd rather have that than just pain of decay.
And that's the thing. Like when you have lots of frictions and obstacles, your body learns how to repair itself. If you get fat and lazy, then your body gives up, and it's like, hey, we're just gonna go this quickest way to our grave. So
Yeah.
it's just what it is.
It is so interesting to see what the body can do. Like I know you're not keen on this, but I had my second dry needling appointment.
Well,
Which
go for a fourth. Like let's do 10 of them.
there's like one more I guess I have to do. And no, I'm not. It is not earth shattering. I don't feel a big difference from it.
No.
But
serious.
There's
I licked
some
the salt rock
improvement.
yesterday, and I do feel a little better today.
There's some difference, but not enough to continue.
Oh.
But it's interesting to see, like, first session was like, oh, okay, minimal things to witness, I guess, while it's in there. Second session, she's like, you bent the needle. Like, while it was in there, my muscle was like, ah, to bend it. And my body's just like, can we not stick things? And I don't know. I guess I've heard the rationale behind dry needling. I've heard what it is.
Well, here's
but
the real rationale. You can go up to someone and say, hey, I don't feel all that healthy. You got two options, right? You could either take this essential oil and rub it in 7 inches deep into your nasal cavity, or don't eat the donut. You choose. Which one's easier? And I'll eat the donut, and I'll be like, why do I feel so bad? I need the sinus cavity. No, just don't do dumb shit with what you eat and the exposure. Hey, let's get off the health thing, because YouTube hates when we talk health.
You're gonna get fired up.
Yeah.
We'll see.
People do dumb shit all the time, and stop doing the dumb shit first before you go to all these sophisticated things.
Wait, is the dry needling the dumb shit?
It's the dumb shit, yeah. It's the dumb shit.
Fine.
Okay, what else do you want to talk about? Food, sports, politics, maybe.
Pain for
death,
no reason,
mortality.
because we're old. Yeah. I don't know. Do you believe in this whole thing though that like 40 is the new 20 and do you think people are getting better? Like you watch the Golden Girls and you realize that we're not that far off from their age, but we don't look that way anymore.
So life expectancy is something, especially with our benefits and our social safety nets and whatever, people are living, statistically longer.
Yeah.
But they are not having really great years. Like we stretched out how long people technically live. And, but they're disease ridden and suffering in those periods of time. So I do think that we're living longer. And so we are stretching out what we would be experiencing in our 20s. Now we're experiencing in our 40s. And so it is a weird time thing. Now, do you think, and this is a little physics thing.
Oh God, I'm screwed. Okay.
All right. So do you think, since the momentum of everything is slowing down, it's not getting faster. We had a big explosion that created all of the universe. And while that goes out, energy is lost and things slow down. So maybe time contracts, right? And maybe the lifespan is just being stretched out over a time scale. All right. So eventually we might live to be 600 years old, right? It's the same amount of time,
Mm.
but things just kind of slowed down.
So you're saying it's not even so much any advances in health or even beauty. People just
I'm not
look younger,
saying because mathematically we've only slowed down a little
like
bit.
a
Like it's
smidgen.
tiny, so there's not enough time for time to have slowed down that much in our lifetime. But
potentially,
potentially
after
on a
many, many, many,
long
many,
scale.
many years,
Yes.
it could be people are living longer just because of time, not anything we're doing.
Exactly. Like you want to attribute it to, we've conquered some diseases that take people out in their 20s. We've eliminated some things that would happen to babies when they're first born, where they're actually surviving.
Yeah.
You
Or
know,
even like women used to die during childbirth, and
right. Modern medicine
yeah,
gave people an advantage, and we have more of them, and we have, the technology allows us to do things faster than less dangerous. Like if you look at the list of things that took people out when they were going across the country in a wagon,
yeah,
right? It took 9 months in the bitter cold to survive that. You could expect a lot of people would have met their maker during those pursuits.
Yes.
When's the last time you traveled somewhere and really felt at odds with the math behind immortality? It's pretty safe to do things now. Mhm.
My body doesn't know that. I've had like near heart attacks in a car thinking that, oh my God, I'm like in immediate danger, but I think that's just being sick in the head with being in the car.
When everything was dangerous, then your sensitivity to danger was way higher, right? There's only really real scary things to be afraid of. Now we're fat and lazy and stupid, and so we invent things.
Well, I mean, even not inventing, I think the reason that it is so scary now is because we have all these idiots driving that are distracted, people on their phones, people not paying attention, people messing with music, people doing whatever. And I think my fear has increased because I don't trust the general public. It's not like something, beyond my control in nature or whatever is going to be dangerous during travel. It's other people who are idiots.
I am really surprised that more crashes don't happen. For as often as you see people not paying attention,
it's so scary.
I am thankful I only drive during hours where the non-idiots are the more, plentiful on the roads, because I think later on in the day when you see all these backups on the highways and whatever, it's because there's a bunch of morons who aren't paying attention to shit.
Yeah. I mean, just yesterday I was driving home from work and I had I had a reaction so strong physically. I had to literally, I went like this and I went dizzy, spinning, scared to death because it looked like a car wasn't stopping at a stop sign. Mm-hmm. They did stop. I was fine, but it looked like they weren't going to. And my trust in other people is so low on the roads.
Did I do that to you? Did I make you mistrust people more? Okay, right, so that's a you thing. I'm not taking.
Yeah, I think it's a me. Well, one, I think growing up, my dad made everything sound dangerous. Everything was dangerous. Everything was going to kill you. He even had a term for unnecessary road travel, meaning don't be on the road unless it's completely necessary because it's dangerous. So I think that's in the back of my psyche. And then just seeing people on cell phones, hearing about awful crashes, being in a couple like minor, God forbid, knock on wood, all the accidents I've been in were not like horrific, but just scary enough that all these compounding as in, oh my God, people can't be trusted on the road. People aren't paying attention. People don't see me. They pull out in front. And so now everybody approaching a stop sign to me is going to not see me and blow that stop sign. Even if that's not rational or realistic, I will have an actual like sweating, heart racing, dizzy, just avoided death reaction.
So are you now a proponent of self-driving cars that will do better driving than all of the idiots? I was watching a dude. He was in his Cybertruck, and right next to him, he put on autopilot. Right next to him, he had an espresso machine. And so while his car was driving, he made a little espresso, and he took out a little book and he's reading a book while he's drinking his espresso. And his car stayed right in the middle of the lane. perfect speed set, not having to pay attention to anything. His car did all of the heavy lifting. Would you trust the Cybertruck more than the person that is, distracted with about 5,000 other things on the entertainment console and with their phones and with everything else?
I'm getting there.
You're there. You're there. You're there. You're in denial.
I used to say 100% no. I'm going to trust a person before I trust a vehicle that's thinking for itself. And I think it's better now, especially because in my car, the car I drive now has some sensors around it. And if I'm going to change lanes and I put my turn signal on, it will beep at me and it vibrates and goes beep, beep, beep. If it thinks there's a car too close, like, hey, there's something in your blind spot, you're pretty close, don't go yet. Things like that to me make me feel a little better that, okay, perhaps there is technology that is watching that
is better than you, that's not breaking concentration, because the detractors of it are going to point out when it does make a mistake. But when you compare it to how often a real person makes a mistake, it's not going to be absolute, and you're going to feel bad when it makes a mistake that you don't feel you would have made had you been in the driver's seat, for sure. But on the aggregate, it's way safer than you. Yeah.
Like my husband, I drive him insane in the car, but I've told him, you can't get mad at me because you have reinforced this, because there have actually been times that he was driving and he turned to look at something and went out of the lane, either went off the road or left the center or whatever. And I went, oh my God. And he got back on because he got distracted. Now, will a driving vehicle do that? No. Right. So I am warming up to the idea.
Yeah, percentage wise, it is going to be better. Now, do you believe in the stereotype that women are bad drivers, worse drivers than men?
Not really, no. No.
As a group,
I don't think it's
as
based
a whole group.
Off of... I think that there are stereotypes for a reason.
Okay.
I think it comes from something.
Yeah. Can we dig into it and find out what maybe those some things are?
I could see, like, maybe in the day, women could have been more easily distracted. You always hear about, like, the woman doing her makeup in the car or running late and has all these things she's shoveling in the car. I could see some statistics behind that idea. Is it still that way? I don't know. Maybe.
Well, I was a 35-mile-an-hour zone, and I was behind this green car, right? And the mirror was down, and she was going.
Yes.
Right? 10 miles under the speed limit, right?
It's this.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if statistically women are more likely to have more things that they're going to try to be multitasking in when they're driving, they will pay attention less to the actual driving part of it and more to the things that they have to do when they're driving. So I think that women are more prone to accidents and I didn't pay attention to's and driving over center line and all that kind of stuff. So I think they're in a higher risk category, which flies in the face because when you're a 16-year-old boy and your insurance is more expensive because you pose a higher insurance risk. And then we get to later on when women are driving around distracted, but their insurance is still cheaper. I don't think that's a real acknowledgement that women pose a higher risk. What?
Their insurance is cheaper for women? Yeah.
When you're young, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Because they think there's also a stereotype that girls mature faster than boys, which I do think is true in a lot of cases.
I agree.
So I could see the rationale that a 16-year-old girl is more mature than a 16-year-old boy.
But as a girl then gets older, she gets distracted by more things. And so where she might have been safer when she was more mature and more meticulous on paying attention and being, because women are better rule followers, where men take more risks and drive faster and whatever. So I see if you're taking all things into an account, then yes, men should be boys should be more expensive insurance wise when they're young, and women should be a lot more expensive when they get older.
I could see that. I mean, even little things like women usually have, everybody has the phone, but they might have the phone and a drink and maybe a kid in the back seat and maybe their purse falls and maybe,
right.
I could see that.
But it won't matter when AI is able to, no matter who's in the cockpit, they're not really doing the driving. It's better left up to a machine to make better decisions than we do. And if we can cut out, 50% of the fatalities because it's not as irrational or distracted as we are, then so be it.
And I don't see a big difference in when it comes to like, especially playing on the phone while driving. I feel like stereotypically we might think kids do it more. I see older people
it's everywhere
on their phones.
If you're listening to this in the car, just look around at stoplights and see who's doing it. How many people are paying attention versus not? And it's
how many people are watching us right now while driving in their car? Because I bet it's happening.
God, put it down. put it down.
Oh, you know what drives me insane? How about when they are recording like their Facebook Live because they just want to talk about something and they're driving? And I'm not even talking about the people that have it on a mountain do it. That's still not good. But you can tell they're holding it. And even worse, they're holding it down because they know it's illegal to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're like this and they're talking. And I love it when I saw a woman, she was down south. She wasn't local. She is like a reporter. And she was reporting on something and some corruption in the local government. And she even titled it, "Right is Right and Wrong is Wrong. And you need to follow the law." As she's Facebook Live holding it down because it's illegal to do this in her state driving, just to go off and talk about what someone else is doing wrong. And I so badly wanted to comment, then get off your phone, pull over and make this video. All you people preaching about something or some wrong you just witnessed while driving. And I saw one girl doing it with her kid in the car. And she's like telling her kid in the backseat this, and that as she's trying to just record herself or go Facebook Live while driving. And I'm like, this is why my heart races when I'm in the car, because there are idiots like this out there.
They really should treat it with like a DUI, like same penalties, same treatment. That if when you're in a car, like think of it, you being in a bulldozer. What do you want a guy in a bulldozer? You want him to pay attention to the machinery because he could absolutely hurt somebody with what he's in, right?
Yeah.
You don't want him doing other things. Same thing with a car. That's a big wrecking ball that you're driving down the street. And so if you can't operate it without being a distraction, then get off the road. Like you said, stop.
Yeah.
And until we start suspending licenses and, putting people on probations for not being able to do it well, or maybe I rescues it and then they're just going to be like, fine, we can't stop you from doing it. Just let the freaking car drive because you're too distracted to do it on your own.
Yeah.
All right. So yesterday there were down in the Austin Tesla factory, they unleashed a bunch of the Optimus robots to start walking around. And what they're doing now is they are observing human beings and the jobs that they're doing. And they kind of show the video footage of what the robot is watching done. And then it goes off and it practices those same maneuvers. So if it's given video of something happening, can emulate it and mimic it and practice the movements and whatever. And
it's
so
recording a human being.
Yeah. So it's looking at it.
Okay.
They're showing the video footage of what the Optimus robot was watching done. So sweeping the floor and, sending some things down a manufacturing conveyor belt, doing sweeping, like anything a human being is. I mean, you can imagine in this factory, having a robot watch you while you're doing your job has to be a little unsettling.
Yeah. I was just thinking like my brain just went to an employer having this around and seeing bad habits that the robot picks up. And it's like, where'd he get that?
Mm-hmm.
What are you guys doing?
Yes.
So yeah, I could see people being
that's it's going to keep human beings in check for bad behaviors, because if not only is it a threat to what you're doing, if the Optimus robot can do it better, but it also we need to not pollute what it's observing to mimic.
Yeah.
So let's just say we unleash it and let it watch YouTube videos, and then it learns what human beings are by what it sees on YouTube.
Oh, God.
It could then start exhibiting behaviors that you wouldn't want the robot to do. So why is it okay to permit a human being to do it when you never in a million years would want a robot to do it?
Yeah. Have you seen the video? I've seen it, but I haven't watched the whole thing and I don't fully know what was going on. But it was one of those robots and it was kind of tied up and it got violent and started fighting. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah.
What was that? Was it just like wigging out or?
So there was a software feedback loop that made an arm movement go sort of in a vicious cycle where it repeated and repeated and repeated. So there's little motors in all of the joints and all the action points. And when it gets a feedback loop, it spazzes. It just goes into a constant flow, and the motors were going too fast and the movements were going too fast. So they had to terminate.
So it wasn't this robot learned to fight or be combative.
No.
It was just moving fast.
Yeah, it's almost like you ever see those guys are using the sanders, and the sander starts going ballistic.
Yeah.
It's more like that than it didn't learn that behavior. It was a
this
malfunction.
article totally made it look like our robots are trying to fight us, kind of thing. And what are we doing?
The concern would be is, again, this is a thing that is a denser object than a human being. So if it starts wigging out and flailing its arms around human beings, it can absolutely kill somebody. It's not intentionally trying to injure. It's not going after a person. It's just wildly erratic.
It's not like human must attack.
No, that's a little dramatic. But now, considering that by 2030 these robots are going to be available for you to bring into your house, right?
2030 in our homes.
In your homes, you can buy these robots. Beginning ones are going to be hella expensive. Did I just say hella?
Hella expensive.
That's how expensive they're going to be. So if you get a $40,000 robot and bring it in your house, it can start to do menial tasks like mowing the grass and washing your dishes and doing laundry, sweeping floors. Would that be something that you would halfway entertain when it's available?
Maybe. So I'm weird. I'm probably not the norm when it comes to the demographic to sell these things to. Like I feel a slight sense of accomplishment when I'm able to juggle a lot. Like I kind of took pride in the whole, like I went to work and kept the house clean and kept up on the laundry and kept the kids alive and did all this. Like I'm amazing. And so to pass some things off to a robot to me would be like, oh, that's my job. Having said that, yes, there are days though where it's like, I'm overwhelmed and I need help. Hey, robot.
Yeah, the robot just works.
Plug in.
Let's just say it can do 20 hours a day, 4 hours of charging and 20 hours a day. And it's a constant cycle of doing things that are on its list. It can always just be cycling through its responsibilities.
Yeah. Like I could be like, hey, I got something to do, robot. I need you to put this load of laundry in while I'm at the store.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just done whenever you're home. Even if it doesn't do the whole thing, if it gives you a head start on some certain things that does hard parts or dangerous parts or whatever.
Nice. Hey, can you run the vacuum for me? Get the dog hair up. I could use help with that for sure. But what if it malfunctions? Like to me it's like how big of a risk is there? Like if this thing malfunctioned, how damaging could it be? And I'm not talking about like, oh, it's gonna like be a Terminator and come after us, but like if something goes too fast and it like busts a hole in the wall or something.
Being that they physically, all of the mechanisms exist right now. They have 5 years of letting these things wander around. And if you look statistically, how many of them wigged out and did damage to, cars within the manufacturing facility, then they have a lot of time to be able to work that out.
They need a remote with this thing. If this thing starts wigging out, don't go near it. You're going to get hit. Here's the shutdown remote.
I'm sure there will be 1,000 different ways of the thing that the things that you're afraid of aren't even going to be an issue. The things you should be afraid of are going to be the things that it can add to its repertoire of doing things, right?
Like replacing us.
Yeah, right. What you will, right now, you're going to take things that you don't want to be doing. Right.
Yeah.
And then so you've then got to take the things you were doing and not sit around and become unhealthy and lazy because a robot's doing all of your work. You got to invent new things so that it doesn't add to the detriment of your health.
Yeah.
Right. But then relational things, what it's going to take care of. I was watching a video of a nursing robot that would basically spend time and play games with people that are in nursing homes and someone to read with them and whatever. So taking if human beings are bad at the relationship things anyway, a robot's going to be really good at it. But then we're going to prefer the robotic kind of a relationship, which leads to a whole other, where this creeps in all fat. Where do you think I'm going? You're looking at me like I'm going to the sexy bots, right? You know it.
I'm going to the sexy bots.
Yeah, because then if you really want to have population collapse, make some sexy bots.
Yeah.
And then you don't have to deal with humans on the whole sexual relationship side
You
of
just
things.
get rid of human connection and emotion altogether, which I don't think is a good thing.
But it's going to happen because we are
It
terrible.
doesn't have to happen. It's not going to happen.
It's going to happen.
All relationships and human connection.
No, not all of them.
Yeah.
But we're going to be just like everything else. If we don't have to do it, we're going to lose the skill of doing it, and we're going to get worse at it because we don't have to. And then you're going to prefer it because as you get worse at something, you get more dependent on the thing that's doing it better.
Yeah. Meaning if you have your sexy time with a robot, you lose the skill. And then you can't have sexy time with a human,
or you don't want to. You don't want to
down.
Because you don't want all the complications that come with it, and you lose the ability to deal with risks and rewards.
The robot can just reinforce whatever you're doing and make you feel good, whereas a human would be like, "Wow, you're really bad at this."
Exactly. Right.
So there goes the population again.
Yeah, population decrease. But again, that the intro is noble, right? To people who have way too many things on their task list can help you get task list is the entryway into everything. It cascades all across everything that we do.
And yeah, I mean, Linda, she's saying that can be used as a defense against the operator or owner of the robot. Is the intention is it to hurt another person?
If you don't think the military is going to have robots with guns,
that
you're
was
crazy.
Going to be my next point. Is like we could use this.
And here's
our defense.
Here's the noble intention. We're not going to put human beings at risk in war. We're going to put a robot, so if it dies, we don't lose a life. And then they're like, oh, that's a super good idea.
Or a home security system. Like some people get big dogs as a protector if someone comes in. Like, what if somebody's thinking, I'm going to break into this house, but oh my gosh, what if they have a security robot that's just going to annihilate me?
Exactly.
What are you going to do? Shoot it? Okay.
Exactly.
But
so a little bit better, a little bit worse. And so just, kind of like going through the thought experiment of what life is going to be like when we have a dependence on AI to do the things that we're not good at doing anyway. And that it's the first time I'm going to throw a slippery slope out there, but that it's going to slippery slope us into a complete dependence on robotics and AI.
I just had this vision in my head of like a burglar breaking into a home, and here comes freaking Terminator robot just like grabs them, pummels them, recording what they look like while calling the police, and what are you going to do? Nothing. That would be awesome. I would seriously consider a home defense robot, like guard our home at night or when we're out of town or anything like that. Like bring packages in while we're gone. That'd be nice. Have a little home helper.
Thousand uses of replacing what human beings aren't as good at with robotics.
Yeah. Like, oh my gosh, did I close the garage door? Well, little robot always remembers to close the garage door.
100% accuracy. 100% accuracy.
All right, you're selling me on this.
You will have a robot, as will everyone. We'll have a robot.
Yeah, but I want a remote on-off switch in case I gotta kill that.
They'll give you a kill switch. No problem. So there's another demonstration: security cameras that are attached to drones. Okay, so you basically unleash this thing, and you can do it inside your house where you just got this roaming drone that goes around your house, and when there's any activity.
Like a Roomba? But in the air?
Yeah. It goes around the house, flies around, and takes surveillance of things that are happening. So instead of mounting it fixed location, it goes everywhere. So you put one on the outside of the house, and you have these drones that when the battery gets low, it docks itself and charges, and then takes off again and starts going around the house.
Instead of having cameras in every room, it's just
you have maybe like 2 or 3 cameras that just go everywhere, and it covers 100%. Then everything is captured on camera, and you have, from a security standpoint, you have people breaking in or whatever. They're going to be on camera. It's going to be hard to, the spy movies or the burglar movies.
Like watching the drone.
And they have a security camera that goes back and forth, and they're
you got to time it and then go under
spraying it with the all that changes with a drone that can outmaneuver.
Or you take a baseball bat and knock it out of the air and smash it.
Epstein would have been covered had we had drones that fly. He wouldn't have killed himself.
I'm sure the drone would have been broken that day. Oops, the drone malfunctioned. Because then we have cameras that were just not working that day, and a guard that just happen to be distracted, and I don't know. I think we could still sort of manipulate. It's interesting. Linda said, "Your fear is my fear. I love Elon, but he is not in complete control." Do you feel that way? Or do you think Elon's got more control than we think? He's
Control
not
of.
I don't really know. Linda, what do you mean he's not in complete control? She also says, I would prefer a small dot reminder with no hands to remind me of my to-do list. With no hands. Because then you can catch these hands.
Yep. Do your bidding for you in every department you wish.
Yeah. Rosemary, thank you for watching. But yeah, I think we could still take it down. You know, like, is there enough of the technology that could withstand, let me just hit the drone out of the air and now I've defeated it. Let me just turn it off and now it can't be used for something. Like, we almost need like a backstop in the AI for corruption. I don't know how we do that.
They made a million movies about it.
What about that, Joe? What about that?
I am not going to rose-colored glasses on this. There will be corruption. There will be misuse. You take a drone that flies around and somebody's going to be peeping in your windows and get away with it.
Yeah.
Think about okay, so I think about this on a regular basis. With the technology, you know how like people go and try to take out a person? If you just have drones with weaponry. Did you see, I posted a couple months ago that they actually have a gun manufacturer that has a drone gun. Okay, so that you can...
That's terrifying.
Drone gun, right? So I'm thinking, okay, well, if it's hard for police to be able to piece together who did it, and then you have these drones that could, I mean, if I just picked up a drone, had it fly around, how would that ever be connected back to me? It was just a drone that did it.
Drones don't have like registration or anything.
Again, corruption, where you don't think black market drones are going to get out. Once the technology is there, you can
I mean, you could have a firearm that is not linked to you.
Yeah.
I remember years ago at my old house down south, a neighbor a couple streets over had a drone and would fly it around. And one time we're all just like, me and a couple neighbors are standing outside in the cul-de-sac talking, whatever. And we see this drone comes. We're like, oh, look, it's a drone. And it comes down and we waved at it and it went like this, like it was waving back.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, it sees us. And then it left. And imagine how creepy that is, though.
Right.
Like what you could do with that. Somebody said, make sure all your drapes are pulled when the drones are flying around. Yeah. Like, is that illegal? Like, could he just like take the drone and peer in like a peeping Tom in neighbors' windows? Is that illegal?
I don't know. I mean,
don't know either.
I don't know. I know it's illegal to do damage to a drone if you see it like shooting out of the air.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to do that because that's property damage.
Like, are you trespassing on someone's property if you're in the air?
Do you own property above you and below you? Like the airplane flies over and they go in your airspace?
Research that.
Yeah. So if you stay above a hard deck of 100 feet, is it public airspace above that? I don't know. There's lot to be discovered. So, and again, the liberties of human beings versus technology, as we advance in these things, there's more things that, are going to be really difficult for bad people not to get a hold of them and do bad things. If you can tell your robot to go commit a crime and do a burglary, right? And the robot is not attached to you, and it's hard to kill a robot and it can defend itself. And if it gets away with it, like you get free money and then you were spared from the risk of committing a crime.
But are you like, I mean, if you manipulate someone, like we talked yesterday about Charles Manson, if you get someone to kill someone for you, or you hire someone, you didn't actually do it, but you hired them to do it, you go to prison.
For sure.
So if your robot,
did a crime on your behalf,
yeah.
But that would assume that if you're gonna commit a crime using a robot, that you're gonna make it connected back to you. It's gonna be incredibly hard to have robots that it's almost like when you give it a social security number and you're its parent, so it's traceable and trackable to you, versus I go to Target, pick up a robot that has no connection to me whatsoever.
I keep, not to be a weirdo with this peeping Tom thing, but I keep thinking about it. Like, if you go onto someone's property and look in their windows, I could see that being illegal. But if you're in your home looking through binoculars, not illegal. So you send a drone over to look.
It would be more binoculars than it would be trespassing on property.
You would think.
Gotta change almost all the laws to accommodate what people can do now versus what they could do before.
Yeah. So weird. Linda did clarify. I meant I saw him in an interview and he was asking for greater controls while a partner wanted to continue to advance without a lot of regulation.
Yeah, and this happened when he was a partner or at least a contributor to OpenAI. He had a lot of reservations about what they were willing to do versus him, and he said, "Hold up, before we let this genie out of the bottle, we got to put some things that keep humanity safe because this poses a big risk to all people." And they kind of went off and did their thing and let that genie out of the bottle, and there's no putting that back in. Once we went beyond that line, now it's about just developing and have good people developing the technology, because we can't go back and undevelop it. There's 100 companies developing all different flavors of AI, and there was no regulations or standard as to what you have to put within your controls of AI. So that's done. That's gone.
It's kind of scary. Yeah, I wonder if they would create the robot more like a car where no one can drive it unless with a certain distance. Like you got to have the remote or you got to have the whatever. And then if you leave, it's not just kind of doing its own thing.
And the reputable companies are going to do that, just like everything else. It's the irreputable companies, the people that are just making these things in some country and selling them black market, and they have no controls whatsoever. Skirting the law is wasn't difficult now. It's going to be super easy to break laws in the future. Super easy without it being connected to you.
It's so funny. I love Linda's question. Where's the rest of your audience? Well, we're not being controversial. So if you want us to kick a bee's nest, we'll go ahead and show you where the rest is. We'll start saying, is Elon Musk good or trustworthy, or should he be working with Trump, or should he be? And that's when they'll.
There's only one political thing that I wanted to mention today. Might as well, since we since that.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of faith in Kash Patel and Dan Bongino and Pam. All right. I thought all of them were going to get into the machine and then we're going to throw their weight around and clean some stuff up.
I was going to say, I thought you've made comments about Pam Bondi in the past that made it seem like you didn't trust her.
Well, she was the first that my trust level went way down. I think they've all been compromised. I think anybody that goes into that machine figures out in 2 seconds that it's stronger than them. Nobody has the ability to break it down and make it less corrupt. The people that are in control are not going to go quietly. And so when Bongino and Patel, they changed demeanor in this last couple of weeks. So I think they have been compromised, because it wouldn't be anything for somebody to say, hey, you keep digging and your family dies, right? Like 2 seconds. I'm like, this got real, right?
Yeah.
And they do have the ability to make you disappear, and they have the ability to make you suffer. And so who are you going to send in there that is the Elliot Ness of that deal? They don't exist.
Yeah.
So I think all of my hope in that whole group is completely out the window at this point. So if I didn't think the Epstein files were going to come out, I think way less that they're going to come out.
Yeah.
The JFK files were a disappointment. What they released on all of the stuff is a massive disappointment as far as I'm concerned.
It's almost like it's funny because we talk about idiocracy and like having in the movie they have a president that was a celebrity, and then it's kind of funny that we have a president that was on TV and some similarities. But it is becoming like a reality show almost, in that we're getting these like cliffhangers and these big like, oh my gosh, we're gonna get this, and then it's like, oh, it's almost like there's a lot of theatrics right now, but not a whole lot of payoff. And
well, that's us though.
Yeah.
If you look at when sort of reality TV came out, it was wildly popular because it captivates our attention. And so you don't think that anything else that has to compete with that kind of behavior isn't going to emulate it because it's effective.
That's why the media is so sensationalized. And
what, do you expect them not to be? Do you want them to uncensor? So
do I want them to?
Here's how you sell it. Hey, here's what I want you to do. I want you to just give me data and watch nobody watch you. Do that, right? And make no money. Don't become famous. don't have anybody paying attention to you because that's what I want. I won't watch you either because I'm going to be watching Survivor or Kardashians or whatever. But please do that because that's the right thing to do.
And do you like the James O'Keefe thing? Do you think people are still like chomping at the bit to hear what he has to say? Or do you think they went, you made a big deal and then it was disappointing and now we're gone? Like, because we're fickle for sure. And we're in this like social media age where we have a very short attention span, and it better be something really like juicy to keep our attention. And if it's not, we move on. And
no, it'll just get more sensationalist. It will ramp up, and we'll keep watching it and we'll keep talking about it. That's just because who we are. This is exactly the product we purchased. So we can't complain about the thing that we too go home and do right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and I thought of something that I can't remember what I was going to say, but maybe while that comes back to me, how do you feel about, maybe you know more about this than me. I watched a video yesterday. It wasn't even a whole video. It was like a reel, like a clip. It was like Jillian Michaels talking to some medical professional. I think they were talking about like GLP-1s or something. And they beeped the word side effects. I think they even said beep effects. And you could tell they were saying side effects. Why do we have this censorship right now? Like the other day we were talking about the C word and the pandemic, and they can't have side effects as a word. People are saying unalived instead of, you could say died, and that they will beep that. Like, what is happening with the censorship online? Who's doing it? Why are they doing it? Why is this such a big thing right now?
All right. So this all originates from what's called honeypotting. Or at least my examples in honeypotting. And so defenses against misinformation and your adversaries saying and doing things that hurt you. You have to create sort of like a rule set that defends against something. So let's just say, I'll use email as the analog to explain this. So let's just say I have a new email account and I get no spam messages. 3 people message me, but I start getting on spam lists. I'm getting like 1,000 messages a day. Right. And only 3 of them. I can't look through 1,000 messages. So how do I get rid of the stuff that I don't want, and while keeping the stuff that I do want? So what I do is, and this is what AI does really well. It's called is a Bayesian filter. And so what it does is it profiles illegitimate and legitimate. Okay. So I'll honeypot it and attract a whole bunch of spam messages. And I'll look to see what a spam message looks like. And maybe it says Rolex in it, or maybe it originated from Taiwan, or maybe that it used broken English or bad grammar, or maybe paragraphs of certain words, right? Mm-hmm. And so the Bayesian filter will actually profile what spam looks like and then apply that filter to remove all the stuff that we don't want. But then the adversary looks to see what you're doing, and it poisons your honeypot because it'll send you messages that kill your filters, and then the AI can't distinguish between what looks like spam. If all of them were 100% spam and all of them follow the same protocol, we could absolutely identify what spam looks like and remove it without putting any legitimate emails at risk. So what's happening is the people that pollute social media, pollute communications, pollute news stories and all that, it's being profiled, but then they'll poison the honeypot. And now legitimate stuff gets caught in those same filters. So the filters are legitimate when it's trying to defend against the things that you don't want, but then real stuff gets caught in that. So then we as content producers have to work around the filter. So if you sent someone an email about your cheap Rolex, if you use the term cheap Rolex, you know that a spam filter is going to look at that. So then you have to say an expensive watch that's made in, wherever, Switzerland, that begins with an R, right? Yeah. And you start masking what you're talking about. So the other person knows what you're talking about, but you can't use the words because you're going to be filtered out. So that's currently what we're doing right now is we are we're creating a new language that has to change enough so that we get our messaging out when it's legitimate, and all it's going to happen is those words are going to be poisoned next, and those words are going to be poisoned next.
So is that why, like Linda was kind of talking on here about other topics that people would like to hear about, but actually you are and when I say you, I mean podcasters in general, are kind of limited on your topics, because if you talk about something that it deems whatever, it hides your content.
Yeah.
Nobody sees it.
Exploited keywords, exploited topics.
Which is so interesting, because we've talked about that when we do get on our like health and fitness rants. We typically have to sort of wrap it up because our content goes nowhere. Nobody watches it.
Okay,
Nobody
so
sees
why?
it.
Why does that happen?
Well, that's what I was going to say, because it's interesting. If you Google like most popular influencers or people that have the most views on the internet, they're fitness influencers. But is it just the platform maybe?
So if you talk about health, right? And think about the exploiters and what they do. Like if I put together some capsules that had like baking soda in them, I could make a lot of money, but being people buying pharmaceuticals and cure-alls and whatever. So those exploiters, what they do is they flood social media with their product, and it's garbage and it's scams. And so the social media platforms, like, how do we get rid of a person talking about health that shouldn't be talking about health? So they create ways of filtering out people who don't usually talk about health or from weird places that, you know,
they don't have a doctor behind their name,
right?
Or something.
And so we're just getting caught in a net where we have a topic that could be connected, but the algorithm is thinking we're going to be hawking a product in about 2 seconds that's a scam, and then want to protect the consumer from buying something from us, be it information or an actual product, when we're not a trusted authority. We're not known for that. We don't have a channel dedicated to that. We're just talking about it in passing.
But it is so interesting how content that is controversial, divisive, emotion inducing gets more attention in the algorithm than one that is like, you know, fluffy. Everybody's getting along. It's helpful. It's useful information. It's positive.
But there's just so
That
much of it.
doesn't.
People can't see everything that's being produced. So
Okay, so it's not so much this like malicious intent behind it. It's really what the people themselves are doing to the algorithm by, I'm watching this because this is interesting, whereas this is just one in a million. It's not.
yeah, if there's a billion pieces of content and there's only a million people that are interested in that content, it's almost like the Yellow Pages. Do you remember Yellow Pages?
Yeah.
If you were a plumber, you wanted to be AAA plumbing, because when people go to the phone book, right, you got served the first one. If you're Zeno, right, Zeno's Plumbing, they'll just never get to you because there's not enough people that look for it that are going that deep into the listings to be exposed to whatever it is.
That's why people will pay to be at the top of a Google search.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, there's just so much content being produced. It gives sort of like priority to people who produce a lot of that content, are known for that content, have reaction. So if you're a new person trying to get into that deal, you're there. People will just never get to you because there's people ahead in line.
So when I see some words being censored, it's not so much that some corrupt organization is censoring something. It's algorithms are affected by what you say based off of what the general public is doing.
Identifies, you just talked about X, and you're currently in line at 1 billion for X. So when you talk about it, they put you in line, just nobody ever gets to you because of the reputability or what you're known for, or the authority on that subject. They're better people than you on that subject.
It is so weird. And now it's like affecting how we talk in everyday language. Like one day in the history books, it's going to be like, well, then the English language altered in the era of AI and algorithms and media.
For sure. It's absolutely
so crazy.
Yeah. And that's, these natural filters that happen in society. Sometimes things are hard on purpose to keep people who shouldn't be doing it out. Right. So if there were a restaurant on every available spot, that's too many restaurants. Right.
Yeah.
And then there's too much. If it may make it just a little bit harder, you have less restaurants, and a little bit harder, you have less restaurants. And it's actually better to have fewer of something. You have a complaint that it's really hard to get in, I want to enrich plutonium. It should be really hard to get in the plutonium enrichment industry on purpose, because you don't want very many people doing it.
How about when you see all these AI videos of, it sounds like somebody talking, it looks like they're saying what it is. You get all this traction on a video because someone's like, oh my God, Elon Musk said this, or RFK said this, or Trump did this. and it's totally fake. It's not a real video, but it looks like them. It sounds like them. It's moving like them. It looks legit, but it's not. Is there anything that's able to sort of weed that out or find like the fake info and kind
Well,
of keep that?
that's what's setting everybody way back in line, is there's so much participation, because so when we're talking about the email example again, if you receive 10 messages a day, how many emails, and I've actually looked at this on our mail servers, how many emails a day do you think your mail server gets that doesn't get to you because it's been filtered out?
Oh, I don't know.
It's in the millions.
Millions?
Millions of emails.
Holy crap. A day?
A day.
Holy
Millions
crap.
of emails a day don't get to you because they've been properly filtered out.
Wow.
Okay. So if you think about automation system that can generate content, that can grab news stories from other people and just plaster everything with their messaging and do it really well, relatable, like really good end product for the consumer, well, they get all the attracted views on it. So if you were to learn that maybe 80% of all content's generated by a non-human, it's just a bot, and they're getting all the clicks and the attention, and then real human beings are making stuff, but it's not quite as good as what's on there right now, they're waiting way back in line, right? Then you're not really seeing anything that's authentic. Everything is generated. So I would say a majority of the things you're connected to are being controlled by automated systems that are controlling what you do and know. An argument yesterday was after President Trump met with the South African leader. Did you see that whole cluster dumpster fire?
I don't think. Is that what Linda's talking about in the Oval Office?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. No, I didn't watch it. I didn't see it.
Okay. So I'll give you a quick summary of it. So it started out as a kind of like just two leaders meeting in the Oval Office, exchanging pleasantries, about to go in a meeting, taking questions from them. But then it devolved super fast where I don't know who first struck, but he brought up some of the Afrikaner farmers that were being killed in South Africa. They took in like 59 refugees from that area because land was being confiscated from white farmers. They were being killed, and they're making this a big deal. Somebody's making this a big deal that white people were being targeted with genocide in South Africa. That leader said, no, it's not happening. Trump and everybody on the Republican side said it absolutely is happening. And so this was exchange of materials where they played videos of people in their parliament saying kill the white people, and take their land. And so again, this is a battle that probably should not be happening in the Oval Office, but it did. But the important part is immediately after that, I counted 17 news sources ran almost identical stories of what happened in the Oval Office. The headlines were the same. The verbiage was the same. The accounting of it was the same. And so you got to think, was this a reporter in there that wrote what the article was about, sending it to their editor and publishing it to their news source? Or was it somebody wrote a script and sent it all the news agencies and they just carried and ran the story? So who is that person that's controlling the narrative that got everybody saying the same damn thing, either by scripted, a person read the same thing, or in print where the article got printed the same way? That's concerning to me.
Yeah, it is concerning. Like, part of me loves to see this era that there are cameras in these rooms. We're watching discussions unfold. We feel like we can then get the full story that is not biased or told us. At the same time, though, number one, I think it's human nature. People become a bit performative when they know they're on camera being watched. So I almost can't trust how authentic it is because I know they're being watched. Like, there's literal like boom mics in their faces and cameras and reporters and everybody writing. And not only are you being watched, but everybody with a camera on you has their own agenda. They're looking for something specific. It's not what's actually happening. It's how can they spin it. So now you're not only under this pressure of being watched, but you're being watched by somebody that's trying to catch something. So to me, those interactions have got to be different or more complicated than they would normally be. But then, yeah, if if you then see news articles about what happened, and maybe it's different than what you saw, then you're like, well, crap. Now, am I trusting that? Or and with AI fakes, did I see a real video? Was that real? Was that AI? Like, it's so maddening that it's so difficult to find sources of information that you can trust.
Well, even like the utility of that press conference. Okay, so if you and I were in that room and I said, "Hey, in your country, I feel that white people are targeted. I have a list of examples of people who are being killed. We have people in political power that are dancing and broadcasting that yes, this should absolutely happen." And then you were like, "Well, our Constitution protects the threat of this thing, even though it's happening." Blah blah blah. And or maybe it's not even happening in the numbers that you think there are. We're in an impasse because you say it's really not happening like I feel it is, and I'm saying I don't want it to happen. And are you a participant to help me have? That would be the utility. It would be you would be like aghast that people were being targeted and killed, and saying, "Well, let's work on that. Let's try to make that better." And then be like, "Yeah, let me help you." But that's not how it goes down. So the whole the theater and the posturing on it doesn't solve any kind of problem whatsoever.
Yeah.
So why the effectiveness of government to solve problems is a huge low.
Yeah, and I think in a situation like that, nobody wants to look, when you're dealing with leaders of countries, nobody wants to look weak. So I feel like there's going to be a higher probability of butting heads than working together when they feel like the world is literally in the room watching them. Like, I don't know. I feel like maybe if things were behind closed doors, yeah, we have to trust that something went down the way it should. But you also, I think, can take the ego out of it to make things happen rather than the performative.
Brian said the $25,000 fine for weaponizing a drone. So thank you for that. Linda said that was the Oval Office one. That's where good research comes in. Patricia says somebody put in Facebook jail for using the phrase "drink."
Chink
In the armor because of those the slang for a Chinese person.
So they're just picking up on the words.
Yep. And their automated system, it looks for a word. You use the word, it puts you in jail. You don't have a person to be able to like defend yourself and say, no, time out. I know a lot of people that got Fast Freddy the other day got somebody made a comment on one of his posts and I suspended his whole account for what the content that he had no control of.
We did. I had a job years and years ago. We were making a funny social media video for work. And it was Halloween time. And we had a coworker with a sheet over his head. We were being silly. It's a ghost. It was a cheesy video. But because we wrote, OMG, the office is haunted. Watch later for this ghost we caught as a joke. It took our video down and censored it and said like scary content or what's the word? Like traumatizing content or something like that. We had to refute it and be like, no, watch it. It's not, it's a joke. And then I think they put it back up, but yeah, it's.
And they're only uber sensitive to this stuff because of the exploiters are making it. If they weren't, there's fallout, but if they weren't, then we would be flooded with the most awful stuff possible.
Yeah. So you're saying, like, I've noticed if I buy something online, I will almost always then get several junk emails because now my email is out there and it gets sold to somebody else. And now I'm flooded with other products and their junk emails and I just unsubscribe. But you're saying I'm seeing maybe 5 when there could be 1 million?
Yep. Yeah.
Holy cow, I didn't know it was that.
Yeah, and those ones, you deal with a company and then they sell your information. Companies make more money off of selling your information to other companies than they do in the products that they sell you. So let's just say you started a product that was just break even and everybody loved your product, but you're not making any money on the product, but everybody's buying from you. So you have a list of millions of addresses and then you take those addresses and you sell them to 30 other companies. And when you opt in, right, by buying the product, they are legally allowed to sell your stuff to third parties. So there's big money into making sure that, they slam your inbox with spam messages.
Linda says there was a documentary on the taking farms away from white people and killing them 8 to 10 years ago. My opinion is Trump was right when the president denied it. Trump called him out on it.
we project a little bit, especially in that part of the world, that they follow the same protocol. They have their same government controls. There is corruption. Like all that stuff goes out of the window. If you don't think that there are, really fringe people, or if the government themselves aren't as corrupt as Mexico's, with the cartels is corrupt. So even expecting a leader to take a hard stance against something that if he does that, he will be killed in like 2 seconds from those same people. Like it's almost a country where we need to rescue all the people who are being targeted and let that cesspool of corruption just corrupt on itself.
Yeah. How do you rescue the people that are being targeted?
Yes. I know. It's not
it's like impossible.
Like if we did that with Mexico, it would literally be the entire country. We'd move them here, and then we would just import their corruption into the United States, because that's what they know. That's part of their culture. Paying off people and allowing narcos to actively participate, just like the mob did here. So
I know it's so funny when you hear people and it's in every election. It could be Trump, it could be Biden, it could be anybody. You always hear the people who are unhappy with the results be like, I'm leaving this country, I'm moving to here, I'm moving to there. It's like, oh, by all means.
Yeah, when you come back and kiss the ground when you get here, because it's all of our failings are nothing compared to other places.
Tell me how much better it is there.
Yeah.
I can't wait to watch you run back. Yeah. I know of one person, and I don't think it was a political move. They were trying to get out of the country. They wanted to live in another country might have been a schooling issue. I don't really know. And it worked out for them. But that's one. Typically, it's like if you're fleeing because you don't like the president,
projecting and pretending the rest of the world is any close to being as civilized as we are. There are only a couple countries that are even close. And Europe used to be super analogous with how we did things, and they just killed whatever prosperity in the future by inviting the immigrants and sort of like giving the Muslim presence in conflict with the Christian. I mean, they got a lot of things boiling over in Europe that we're going to see in the next decade for sure.
Speaking of corruption and people being unalived, I saw another little snippet video about it kind of ties in with like the Diddy case and celebrities and stuff like that. And I can't remember the guy's name, which is probably a good thing because we probably shouldn't say the name.
Okay.
But there's this well-known celebrity like trainer, handler that I guess is connected to all these celebrities that are now unalived, all in similar ways. He dealt with Brittany Murphy. He played a part with Britney Spears. Kanye West has been saying a lot of stuff about things that they do and drugs they tried to put him on and all this stuff so that they make him look crazy. When his life is in danger, then nobody believes him. Like all kinds of like Aaron Carter, people that were a lot of like bathtub deaths that were kind of coincidental. Have you heard anything about that?
Spoiler alert, 80% of the people that you know publicly are awful, terrible people that are doing things that would turn you white if you knew that it was going on.
Yeah, like,
so don't be surprised.
It's supposedly, like not even so much the celebrity having
but that whole culture.
But yeah, the people controlling them, influencing them, dealing with them.
Control, that's a good word, because you get to that level and people will, and I'll call it like blackmail, where they get leverage on you to control your actions so that they can make money on you or get you to give them money or make you beholden to them. The power play in that industry is huge.
Like somebody was saying, I think a lot of Kanye's issues is we think he's crazy. I've said it. Kanye's crazy. He's nuts. Crazy. And that we were made to think that. Not that he's totally sane, but he has talked about how they've tried to give him drugs and they've tried to do all these things. And they've I saw a snippet of an interview where he was like, I want people to know if I end up like these other celebrities, here's why. Like, he says that they make it look like the celebrity has a drug problem if they don't, or a substance abuse problem or a mental health issue. They make it look that way so that when they are unalived, oh, what a tragedy. He says, you're going to hear, oh, what a tragedy. What a tortured soul. He was fighting a lot of demons, made good music. Such a shame he went out that way. And it's like, I didn't go out that way. It was somebody else. Like, supposedly there's a lot of celebrities. They're saying this specific guy has been involved with all these people that just tragically died by fighting their demons. And that was not the case.
Yeah. You know who I feel bad for?
Who?
The mafia.
Really?
I feel bad for the mafia.
Okay.
Because literally everybody was doing what they're doing, right? And we're finding that out. They're controlling people. They're paying people off. They're using illegal activities to prosper. And so literally every mechanism that they got blemishes for in a whole group, everybody else was doing. And unfairly, they're the only ones that went after. We didn't go after politicians for doing the same stuff, or police departments, or influence rings, or predatory rings.
They were the obvious wrong.
Right. And they were probably the most beneficial to society because they at least had a code that they stood by. These other people, like, okay, we're going to start a ring today. We're going to talk about breaking the law. You ready?
Okay. Hope we don't get censored.
A new ring. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to take $1 million. We're going to put it on the table here. And we're going to try to go around town within a couple miles of this area. And we're going to try to corrupt as many people as we can into our corruption ring. And all we have to do is be able to get leverage or favors or control any kind of decision. So we're going to start with people where the decisions can benefit us. So how easy do you think it would be to get a favor from a politician? If I had a stack of money and I'd sent you out and say, hey, let's take the mayor of Youngstown. Do you think that you could make an offering with either you do something for them or you have some money to give to them, and you can get one thing that they shouldn't do, but they would do for you because you gave them? How hard would it be?
Probably not that hard.
Okay, so that would be politicians, pretty easy. You go down to the police department and you find somebody who may be the prosecutor. And you're like, I want to get one free pass from the prosecutor. I want to meet him, maybe give him a little money, tell him that if you ever get in trouble, help me get out of it. How hard do you think that would be to pull off?
Probably not super hard, depending on how much they feel like it could be under the radar.
Okay. How about somebody in entertainment? So flash a little money with an entertainer and get somebody who owes you a favor.
Oh, probably pretty easy.
Okay. So if we started Kelin and Joe's corruption ring and we wanted to bring as many people in and we had the funding to do it, there's very few people who we couldn't get leverage on, right?
Yeah.
And control their, and I say control, I mean, since they know us, or they know we did something nice, we gave to their campaign, or we just gave them money flat out.
We make them feel obligated
to do something on our behalf. So if something came across their desk, they know our name, they know that we did them a favor, and they're like, let me shuffle this one into the trash can.
They know that we funded something that they need, or we had influence if they needed elected again.
Exactly.
Like they feel obligated.
So if you had the funding, it would not be very hard to put a couple of hundred of people that owed your favors. And then it would just be a matter of remembering and documenting who owes you stuff. And then you could just go out there and do normal business, knowing that you have all of these people at your command that you have at least one favor of control over.
Yeah.
And then since there's thousands of targets that you could do that, you don't think that the FBI and the CIA and the government and police departments have that same corruption network of people who you own their influence of, or can influence them?
Yeah.
So it's very prevalent because there's nothing stopping it. Nothing.
And which would you prefer? The obvious group that, hey, that's what they do. We know exactly who they are. We know the evil, or the evil we don't see as obvious.
Yeah, because we wouldn't have a code, right?
Yeah.
We're not obvious as to what our intentions are. And then we have rules, we have, command structures, whatever. So I feel bad for the mafia. And I'll never say that again. And I've never said that before, but today I feel bad for the mafia.
Because you could see that group and be like, look, you deal with this person, you're making a deal with the devil. You're playing with fire. That's obvious what's going on there. Or the wolf in sheep's clothing, the one that's a little quieter and more discreet, still very corrupt, but more manipulative. Which is worse?
I think it's all the same.
Yeah.
I think it's just unfair that they're the only one that took it historically as being the villains in the storyline. When if everybody's doing the same thing, there are no villains. They're all villains or no villains.
Yeah. You ever watch Sons of Anarchy?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like in the town of Charming, and the sons are not good law-abiding citizens, but the town, like the police department, will sort of work with them because it's like, just help us then in this area. Just don't make things worse for us here,
The mafia
and we
did the
can be in
exact
your
same
pocket.
thing.
Yeah.
We know how this goes down. You just have to do just enough good for your host, right, to tolerate you enough and enrich them to a level that means that they want the status quo, and you establish the status quo. Everybody, like if you went around, the mafia was good about this. Like they lived in a neighborhood and they sold drugs and whatever, but then they would give money and protection to individuals, so the people freaking loved them because they had like almost Jim Trafficking. Do you remember Jim Trafficking? All right,
I remember hearing about him, but
I loved him because you could call his office and he would do anything for you. He would fight for the individual. He had so many allies because of what he's willing to do for the individual. He did a lot of bad stuff on the outside, and everybody tolerated the bad stuff because they knew that they had his back. So if you knew the mafia was in your neighborhood and they were hurting somebody who wasn't you, they were giving you like free shit on a regular basis, you will absolutely tolerate the bad guys because to you, the relationship to you is freaking awesome.
It almost feels like it would be like a hostage situation. Like, I don't want any trouble from you, so let me join you. You protect me. I'll look the other way when you do you. Because the alternative is I fight you and I could lose.
Yeah. So if I bought the police department and I got a cop that was on my side, and then I would do stuff to make that cop look good, he got all kind of promotions, he would feel beholden to me. So it might not even take my stack of money to get him on my side. It might be that I pushed him towards prosperity because I also own the prosecutor and I can make sure that my guys got further. So being an ally of me, now he's even more beholden, and I can corrupt the whole government and police department and business community.
Yeah.
Our corruption ring is going to be uber successful.
I just saw this video the other day. I wish I paid more attention as to what state this was in. But we had talked about, like if you pull someone over, no matter who they are, they should have the same law,
Correct.
The same consequences. Well, there was body cam footage in state of this female officer pulled over a guy who is a political candidate for their local government, I guess it was. And first thing out of his mouth is, "Do you know who I am?" She's like, "Yes, sir, I do. License and registration, please." And he's like, you know me, and you know how badly this can go for you." And she's like, "Sir, license and registration, please." And he's just like, "Here." And she's like, "Can I also see your something she had asked for?" And he's like, "No, I'm not." And she's like, "Sir, all right, if you're not going to, I'm going to ticket you for not presenting that." And he's like, "You're making a big mistake. You really want to do this. You're going to end your whole career." And this whole interaction is on there. And he's like, "You know who your boss is?" "Yes, sir." "I'm going to call him right now." She's like, "All right, sir, go ahead. Give him a call. I'm going to be in my vehicle taking down your information." And he's like, you don't want to do this. You're going to kiss your career goodbye." And so he's calling her chief. And then she requests backup. Backup comes. And even the backup guy's like, "You know who he is, right?" She's like, "Yeah, I do." And he's like, "All right, well, the chief is going to come." She's like, "Yeah, you want to sit here and wait for the chief? Do you want me to wait with you?" Like, she was so great. She was unbothered. This political person eventually resigned once the video was out and everybody saw how corrupt he was being. But how many people, like, that video was so big because that was not the norm, I'm sure. How many officers would be like, "This candidate's in it. My chief is involved in it. Probably the mayor's in this. Like, I better say good day." She pulled him over for speeding and using his cell phone at the same time. Both illegal. And all he did was fight her. And then it was also illegal that he wouldn't present his paperwork. And so she was writing him a ticket for that too. And like, how many times did he threaten her? And everything about it said, oh my gosh, what if I am ended by this? I can't imagine.
Well, at the very least, you'd expect that the chief walks up there and says, "We're just going to let him go. This is going to cause too much complication." And then that officer is going to be like, "Well, I'm never doing that. I'm not going to follow the rules if everybody above me doesn't put this person in prison." Now you take a would-be Elliot Ness, someone who is being guided by virtue, right? And then you totally humiliate them for even trying to do the right thing, because they were such a not exception to the rule.
Yeah.
That's why we're heading towards that, overall civilization
Gosh,
collapse.
it's like if you can't beat them, join them.
Yep. Let's see. Let's control a school board in this ring and fire head coaches based on false accusations. I watched that whole thing the other day.
I haven't watched it, but I've heard a little bit about it.
I am not surprised, and
No.
and I don't want to comment because I want to leave that for those guys tomorrow. But if you think that they're the only school board or the only anything that uses that kind of language and does that kind of stuff, you are mistaken. Yeah, there are no Elliot Nesses out there.
Who do you think would be our closest option?
To what?
To an Elliot Ness.
I don't know.
Because even if they are, they're probably not going to be for long.
Yeah.
Where's our Batman?
But again, entertainment and shows. Do you know how many shows are on TV and in movies that instead of the population rooting for the good guy, they are on the side of the bad guy? They almost make the bad guy endearing.
Sons of Anarchy.
Dexter. Breaking Bad.
Yeah, what was the one I just said to? Batman.
Yep.
Batman is a vigilante. Like, he's not doing anything he should be doing. But
so we are we are very tolerant of lawbreakers when, they're giving you the little kickback benefit, whatever. Let's see. I had a phone call and missed a lot. Did you mention that in court other people like Oprah was named? I never found out what was said about Oprah. I don't know. How is Oprah when we're talking about
in court?
The Diddy stuff, I imagine.
Oh. Hold on, this is coming to me.
Okay.
Oprah. There was a less defunded police force at that time. I can't remember. I saw somebody pushed a reel out that involved an interview with Oprah and a comedian. Who was it? It was Dave Chappelle, maybe? I don't know if that had anything to do with that. Linda, you might have to fill us in with Oprah and what court you mean. Because our attention span has already left whatever we were talking about.
Did you see the Harvey Weinstein stuff?
A little bit, like back when it was.
No, it just the other
recently.
Yeah, recently had an interview. And so for anybody who doesn't know, big television movie producer, had a great deal of bad things that he did to actresses in order to get roles, and they had to pretty much sell them. So very inappropriate behavior. And so he for decades, he was able to behave and act this way because he was in a power position that said, if you don't do this, you don't get on stages and you're not in front of cameras.
Yeah, you'll
if
never
you do
work.
this, I will take care of you and make sure that you get placed. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so everybody knew it was going. Literally everybody. Anybody at any time could said, hey, we're not going to tolerate this anymore. There are people that don't do that. And why are we giving Harvey the ability to control so many people? Let's just all get together and end this dude.
Yeah.
But instead, for decades, people in that industry just tolerate it. Just part of doing business. Oh, that's just Harvey, whatever.
Don't want to rock the boat.
Yeah. And so in his interview, it was like, man,
This was an interview with him?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
he came out and talked about like he feels like he was a little bit targeted, that he wasn't the only person doing this and he didn't do anything illegal and it was made a bit inappropriate, but he never abused his power. Like he was
just the big name doing what everybody else was doing.
Exactly. And so like it gave you a little bit of insight into an industry that tolerates bad behavior because there's benefit in the bad behavior. If you do the wrong thing, right, you get on stage, and so it justified the ends. So anyway, go watch that video later tonight.
Have to watch that. Is he in jail or anything?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Or is he just kind of
He's
outed?
a flop of a person. Like
he may just been outed, but not legal anything. I'm on to and like Tulsi and not corruptible.
That would be a good one. Yeah,
I think Tulsi.
Again, even the fiercest of personalities, once they go up against the machine, I don't know a single person on this earth that will stay uncorrupted if they face down that machine. I don't know anybody.
Yeah.
who doesn't fear death, who doesn't fear destruction, who doesn't mind their life being destroyed, doesn't mind being threatened. I mean, come on, who?
It did feel like, and this is going to be controversial, and I know there's like a bunch of people that don't agree with this. It did in the beginning feel like when we saw sort of these jokes during the election season of like the Justice League or whatever, or the superheroes, and it was like Tulsi and RFK and Elon and I think Cash, but not Cash. Was it Rami? The other guy that
I don't know.
is there Rami something?
Vivek.
Vivek, yeah, he was part of, and especially because Tulsi has like the white streak in her hair, like they made him look all like superheroes, and I was like, this felt like the setup of what could be the closest thing we've had to fighting corruption, and I hope it doesn't like. It always gets, I think, what they're doing to Elon by making him, have to step back and go work on his company, I think is fighting against that. Tearing down.
I'll tell you.
What?
We can't decorrupt this system. And I'll tell you 2 reasons why.
Maybe not totally uncorrupt, but the closest.
No, you can't even closest. You can't even closest. So we have a segmented government, right?
Uh-huh.
Because we do not want tyrannical control from an omnipresent monarch. We've separated the powers between people. So even if you wanted to do things, you had the power to control all things. Our government doesn't allow all the control things. So you need cooperation between multiple people.
Yeah.
So you need a Tulsi in every department that you need participation with, which you do not have for one. And so even if Tulsi wanted to, she would be blockaded by the non-participation in places that are necessary to end the corruption. And all I have to do is place a corrupt person in just one of those segments, and I break the connection. So if the only thing I'll give you one out that decorrupts this, and it's the most devastating part of this formula, is you send everybody to jail because of the Epstein, and a lot of the people that are in those corrupt positions fall. But that means because you don't know who they are, you don't know the ones that are really working against, the change.
Mm-hmm.
You have to get rid of people that aren't corrupt, right? That just happen to be connected to that and start over. Putting all new people in there means that every corrupt person that was there that was under the radar and we didn't know about is gone. And that's the only way to do it. And that will never in a million years happen.
Yeah, because the corrupt even control the information. Like, it doesn't matter what happens in an organization if what's being reported about what happened is totally false and biased.
Well, but doesn't even matter. Let's just say you were in charge of IT, okay? But in order to do anything, you had to do all of your purchasing from the purchasing agent, and you had to go to the auditor to get approval, and then you had to go to the council. You have 3 people. Now you want to do this thing, right? Mm-hmm. But if any one of those 3 has something against you or doesn't want you to do that thing, all it takes is one of them to say no, and then you can't do your thing.
Yeah.
So, but if you had, okay, so let's just say we're going to change over our representative government, and we are going to elect Trump as a monarch. He's going to be the king, which means that he can go anywhere and do anything. He can override anybody else's command. There's nobody that has jurisdiction. That means that if Tulsi goes to Trump and says, we need to do this thing, there's no pushback because he has ultimate control all over those things. So the solution is exactly opposite of what we know we will never do, because if you have a monarch, the monarch gets corrupted just like the decentralized and segmented part of government. So there is no option. If a government lasts long enough, a civilization lasts long enough, it will become ultimately corrupted, right? And the only thing that renews it is burning it down and starting it over again with brand new people. And then they too will become corrupted. There's nothing that stops this process. It's a negative feedback loop.
So you can't even then say like term limits, because
all that would happen is a baton would be handed off in slower succession. So you would have to line up whoever precedes you, precedes you, and make sure that they do the same level of corruption that you did. You'd have to have all new people, all brand new people, wipe it out, start from scratch so that those people couldn't then poison the next generation that replaces them. Because the corruption, it will insulate itself. It's an immune system for keeping things status quo. And in the name of, right, like the the kicking puppies thing. Like they will wrap everything they're doing in a noble cause so that you can't get rid of the corruption because you get rid of the noble cause. That's part of the corruption. That's the mafia giving you bread and potatoes is wrapped in selling drugs on your corner. If you get rid of the drugs, then you get rid of the bread, and I'm not willing to do that. So that is the profile of what corruption is.
Yes. We're doomed.
Totally doomed. And that's why I want to convince everybody to just give up on all people, be cynical, and know that I'm a nihilist and this ends in destruction.
You're making me more cynical.
I know. And I will.
Well, who's Jeff Jackson of North Carolina? Michael says that could be the modern Elliot Ness.
I don't know him.
I don't know who that is either.
Maybe that's the key, is that you pick somebody who is not connected to anybody and doesn't have any power and aren't on any committees and don't already owe anyone any favors. So
which one I'm sure is almost impossible to find, and two, it'll just be spun that they are.
We watched Tim Ryan was piss and vinegar when he went in, and he's going to make all these changes. He got to the machine and found out if he didn't play ball, he would not be used on any position of power. He had to earn, you know what he had to do to earn his positions of power? He had to concede all of his principles. He had to join the machine, or else he would not put him on any committees.
Well, they'll just lie about you. They'll just lie and tell people that
does he want to come back to town and say, hey, I got elected, but because of my principles, I can't get anything done because all I am is one vote sitting in the well? Or I joined all these committees and at least I can do some stuff. And then once you get in the machine even further, it's like, oh, wait a minute. I have to play ball all the time. I can never then jump ship because they'll just kick me off the committee.
Mm-hmm.
They're stuck. Decorrupting the U.S. government would mean designated survivor. If you ever seen that, 100%. Yeah. You'd have to get rid of everyone.
Who's our designated survivor?
Jack Bauer. Or whatever. Kiefer Sutherland.
Actual designated
I want
survivor.
Kiefer Sutherland. He has to be it.
That would be cool.
But you see, all of our solutions are exactly what all of us are pushing at. So we don't want a tyrant and a king, but the king could solve our problems. We don't want the decimation of government, but the decimation of government would solve our problems. We wouldn't want everybody to be wiped out at a joint session of Congress, but that would solve all of our problems. So we got to attrition our way, and all of the bad people know that that's the only way to get rid of them is through attrition, and they're completely defended against that attrition. There's no hope.
God. Jerry says, if you think in general, from grade school class officer elections and every election in between up to the presidential election, there's always people that will question everything as well as purpose, quid pro quo. That's why it is so difficult to get good, responsible candidates. Fighting lies by a clean person is just not worth it.
Amen, Jerry. You nailed it. And
I can't win.
You cannot engineer around this. You can't. AI is just, yeah, Michael got it. Yes.
AI
yes.
is a designated survivor.
Hold on. Who's going to program the AI? It's got to be Elliot Ness. You have to have an Elliot Ness AI program.
An uncorruptible to make the AI.
And then the AI,
when the guy gets corrupted,
but AI, you know what? Still there. The AI then can't learn because then it can be corrupted by its learning mechanism. So it has to be programmed with uncompromising principles that nobody can teach it anything from that point.
We're so screwed.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Okay.
Yes.
If we had.
Yeah.
All right. Epstein files come out.
Everybody's gone.
Something happens. Clean slate.
Yes.
And we've got people like Tulsi and maybe Elon or maybe whoever. Like, we find a handful of people that can come in that are willing to work together, that are not corrupt, that can do what needs to be done. You said ultimately, though, they will. How?
Because when you consolidate power anywhere, all right, if you have a pressure, what would be the pressure of corruption? So do you owe anybody favors right now? Did anybody lend you something in your neighborhood, did something for you that you feel that you owe them something?
I can't think of anything, but maybe. Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
probably.
So if you can defend against ever owing somebody anything, how would you do that for when politicians meet people on a regular basis and ask for campaign contributions and people give it to them knowing that they're just created a favor to be returned at a later point? You would have to then make it so that people run for office that don't need any money, right? because
Yeah.
nobody's allowed to give you money. You're not allowed to talk to people. Now they're not representative government anymore. So you can't have our system of government and not get some level of corruption. It's only that Tulsi would have to serve a 1-year term before she has to be replaced by another Elliot Ness, right? And because the people who want to spend big money, they're not going to go buy somebody and only get 1 year's worth of favors. It has an expiration date on it. Somebody will compromise it if somebody's not going to try to compromise it if they can't get back something from it in only 1 year.
It would require we as human beings completely change our mindset. Because, like, have you ever done something for someone or given something to someone and you're like, no, this is a gift. This is not,
you would have to have,
do not have to pay me back. This is just something nice I'm doing. Well, some people are just like, well, now I feel obligated. They did this for me. They gave this.
100%.
Feel like I
so you'd have to remove all of the mechanisms that favors get created in the first place. Right. And then again, none of what we do is possible once you get rid of how the favors are getting in the first place. And again, if you have, 1,000 government officials and you think you're going to take all Tulsi Gabbards and fill all 1,000 of those vacancies without Tulsi's becoming corrupt, or you put somebody in there that was corrupt all along, but they tricked you in there. So it's almost like, it's going to be corrupted. And the mechanism is that you wash them out faster than the corruption can get created. That's the only way.
I always keep thinking of Two-Face's line from the Batman movie where he's like, you either die the hero or live long enough to watch yourself become the villain.
We have to do extreme term limits, not just regular ones that get rid of a little bit of the problem. Because if you got a festering cancer and the cancer is able to corrupt the next version of it, all you've done is you got rid of all the. What's the benefit of having a 20-term congressman?
If they're not corrupt, it's to get things done, and then you don't lose momentum because, a couple of years you could just finally get some momentum and then lose it. But 20 terms?
So, and I'm exaggerating, but they know people, right?
Yeah.
So when they get something done, they have a Rolodex full of people who will do favors for them, right?
Yeah.
They're on committees that make decisions in those departments. Again, so you remove all the benefits of now you got a new person, doesn't know how anything's going, knows no people, is on no committees,
and you've
get
got anything done.
All of them. So nothing would get done. So government would then, if we have a high functioning government, you have a high level of corruption because it has money, it has influence, it can get stuff done. So obviously people are attracted to the resource of getting things done versus a government that is not even necessary anymore, can be done by AI because everybody going there's clueless, don't know how anything works. Nobody's there to show them because we're doing that on purpose. And then they can't get anything done. They don't do anything.
I mean, I've worked in places where like the turnover rate was so high. I remember working somewhere one time, we just got a new hire and I was talking with another coworker and I was like, oh my gosh, what's their name again? I can't remember their name. And the coworker was like, I don't know. Who cares? They're not going to be here next week anyways.
Yeah.
Because it was so high.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it would be like.
And that would be the preferred. You want a bunch of clueless people who can't get things done because the temptation of corruption goes up with the longer that they're there and can get more stuff done. So the math doesn't work. No matter what, it's going to corrupt, and we don't have a pressure that stops it from corrupting. And we almost, as long as it's corrupting in our favor, we're willing to tolerate, just like the mafia.
Do you think Derek McDowell is the next Elliot Ness?
He's got a lot of attributes that put him in that category for sure. Yeah, he's got, I don't think he's beholden to many people. I think he's guided by his principles. And that's why I really admire that about people that can do the hard thing. We'll see once he gets into that same kind of machine. It's a lesser scaled machine, but the pushback and the hatred and people trying to control his actions and put money in his pocket. I think he's immune to that as of right now, but I would have said the same thing to Tim Ryan when I thought here's a change agent that's going to really take one on the chin for us. And I watched him get molded into the slime ball.
Yeah. Like how do you sort of insulate someone or prepare them to try to combat that once they're in the machine?
That's got to be their both what they run on. Elliot Ness would have said, I am an untouchable because that's my purpose to be untouchable versus I'm this way, but that's not really part of my character. I'm accidentally that way right now. And that's the person that will be molded into it. But this person is going to be taken out early, right? Because the people the status quo people are going to be very threatened by someone who wants to change things.
Because all they have to do is just lie.
Yeah.
If anybody comes in there and they're like, you can't bribe me, you can't blackmail me, I am not able to be corrupted, I'm going to do this job the way it should be done. All it takes is a group of people to put out some false information, some rumors. Yeah. And the public won't know it's false and rumors. You're tainted now. Your reputation has been tainted, and there's nothing you can do, even though it was a complete lie.
And they can ruin you in like every department. They don't have to get to, like, I know a lot of it gets to, they threaten your life or they take you out, but they can ruin your company, Tesla, and turn the public against you and ruin your companies and rip the money away from you. They can ruin your family, right? They can blackmail your reputation. Like, there's 1,000 ways that if an Elliot Ness came along right now, they would have to be in such a small segment where they were truly untouchable. They didn't have any family. They didn't have any businesses. They were untouchable in every way.
Yeah.
I bummed myself out.
I know. Like, oh God, we're all doomed and we're all around terrible people. And now we're like, oh.
I want to be a motivational speaker. I want to.
You're great at it.
I'm so good.
I feel real motivated.
Setting the world on fire, but the other way.
You're like, I'm an unmotivational speaker. I just make
I'm a demotivational speaker.
And if you were depressed and you're thinking about ending it all, let me go ahead and just give you that shove.
So I watched this really interesting. There was a guy that we talk a lot of to a lot of people now that Biden got stage 4 cancer, but there's a lot of people that are publicly coming out and saying that they've got a couple months to live and whatever.
What? Have I not seen this?
I'll play the video for you.
You're talking about other people?
Other people. Yeah. There's some celebrities. There was an author. There were a bunch of people came out right about now that said, yeah, me too. I'm on my way out. There's a lot of cancers happening, whether or not you think
I did hear about the singer of the 3 Doors Down or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, so when you've kind of come to terms with the fact that you're on your way out, let's just say you found out today that you got stage 4 cancer.
God forbid. God forbid. God forbid.
All right. You know that you're still feeling healthy, but there's only a couple months, and those last 2 months are going to be absolutely horrible for you. Would you check out on your own, on your terms, or would you wait for the disease to fully take you?
I would wait.
You'd wait? You'd see it through?
Yeah, I would. Maybe it's because I've seen too many movies to where, if they would have just waited another minute.
It was this far.
Yes, they were on the way. Just wait. Hold on. Like, I have that mentality of like, I don't know. It's not over till it's over. Like, what if something happens?
What if you're really suffering though? Like really suffering?
I mean, I feel like there's gotta be drugs to help with that. I don't know. Like, part of me is like, I want every last minute with my kids, with my
you
family,
deteriorate to a point where you lose speech, you can't rationalize in your thoughts, you're in constant pain.
I'm like a vegetable.
You're just in bed and you've got a heartbeat, but it's being supplied for you, and you don't have any quality of life at that point. So that would be I'd contemplate it, but the gradient down to I'm just suffering a little bit, somewhere in that line, I was contemplating at what point I would just say, all right, I'm not going any further. Yeah.
Yeah. It would have to be really bad for me to pull that plug.
Okay.
Otherwise, my brain just thinks, well, it's coming anyways. It will be here soon enough, and then it's forever. So why would I not hold on to every day I have, and even if it's miserable?
If you were affecting other people where they had constant care with you and you're sapping all of the wealth from them, and they always had to pay attention to you, now you're not only in pain, you're having a terrible experience, and everybody around you is miserable because of the position you're in. Now, are you a little bit more willing to check out?
Yeah, that's a little different. If I truly believe that I was a really big burden on them, and it would be easier for them to see me go, then I'd be like, okay, maybe it's time. Wow, we just got more depressing.
No, I wanted to get it all out in one show. If we're gonna get morbid, we're gonna go the full way.
Okay.
And would you do it yourself? Is this a DIY project to check out, or would you have like a medical professional teach you how to do some chemistry and go out a little less painfully?
I would probably need a medical professional. Yeah, more like I guess it's the difference between. I don't know if you can say the S word.
No, you cannot. Don't say.
Okay, the yourself and like a euthanasia type situation.
Okay.
I don't know.
I'm just curious because I thought about it. I didn't come to a good conclusion.
And then of course I always hear, and I don't know what my beliefs are on this topic. I don't know. But I've heard like some people who are really religious believe if you do it yourself, that causes problems for you in the afterlife. Do I believe that? I don't know. But do I want that gamble?
Yeah.
Probably not.
All of us listening here today will be hit with an end of life scenario, right? And we hope it's, asleep. You just bow out and painlessly and silently and whatever. But a lot of people aren't in that experience where they fade out in all ways and they lose themselves and are not even themselves anymore. And
like Bruce Willis.
Yeah, that's sad.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Dr. Kevorkian. Patricia says.
As humans, we have to take time to make right decisions. Having 3 branches of government is a good solution. I have hope for this country. Well, Linda, thank you. I'm glad that you've been able to.
Linda has hope.
Yes, she's been able to dig through the negativity of this episode and glimmer of hope that our branches of government will give us the product we're really after.
Ethical billionaires don't need the favors or money.
That's true. It removes one deal. What about power hungry people? Right? What if ego-driven people? Like there's more than one thing that gets people in the corrupt. They might like the attention. They might like the financial gain. They might like, the sexual benefits. There's all kind of stuff.
Do you think Elon Musk is an ethical billionaire?
I do.
But look what they do then.
Yeah. He's 1 in a billion. Like there aren't many Elon Musks out there. There aren't many Tulsi Gabbards out there. The human condition. I think most of what Elon exhibits is because of his Asperger's, and his brain's just wired different than everyone else. He doesn't pay attention to the same stuff. He's not motivated by the same stuff. And if you're just a regular person, you are more likely to be corruptible than a broken part of your brain.
Didn't he have like a rough childhood too with his family or something?
Yeah.
Was there like abuse there or something?
I don't know about the abuse part.
I don't know about that, but yeah, I could see like his background being a different situation.
But you could profile that. Who is super susceptible to corruption and run on people that have a profile that they're easily corruptible. I mean, honestly, if you manage a bank, right?
Yeah,
they look at things to make you desperate enough to work there or not. And if you're in bad shape, you being a bank teller means that you're more likely to steal out of the till than if you're not. And so you could profile the corruptibility of someone.
Jeff Bezos, ethical billionaire?
No, not even a chance. And same thing with Bill Gates. Not an ethical dude.
Richard Branson? I don't know much about
Branson's
him.
Close. He's a little bit more of an erratic. And John McAfee, same thing. Both highly intelligent people. And they pursue some noble ends. Sergey Brin, same thing. Who's the old Twitter owner? That's his name. Can't think of it. But anyway,
I don't know.
They're all broken. You pick their pieces that are broken, and if they add to the corruption, then that's a worse deal. So yeah, I don't think very many people are 100%. Jesus was a guy that was uncorruptible. He paid hard taxes for how he behaved and acted.
Look how that worked out.
It didn't work well for him. And I don't think any of those other guys can rise from the dead. So they're better off just prospering themselves instead of sacrificing themselves.
I mean, technically, I guess you could say it worked out for Jesus. I guess.
He's remembered. He's
remembered. I mean, if he's supposedly like at the right hand of God, I can't imagine a more successful position.
How do you get that position? How do you even
I don't think you
it?
can. I think
he's one and only.
Yeah.
He's Elliot Ness in Godville. Yeah.
I hear there's only one and you can't really achieve that status no matter what you do.
But it's a noble goal. I mean, you could try. And
we are supposed to live like him.
Man, I wish they'd publish a guidebook on how to do that.
No, I've been reading this really interesting book every day since January 1st. It's the Bible. And it has these really interesting.
So it has all the wisdom to allow you to ascend in virtue and try to be the sacrificial lamb of doing the right thing.
Like, hey, if you're having a hard time, we need to live like this.
We need to get rid of that book. It can't. We cannot let eyes gaze upon a book of wisdom that helps you achieve,
because it was lost in translation and it's just meant to oppress people.
Yeah,
we got a bunch of stories. We should just
we should just let people find their own morality, because I'm sure they will find it and it will be a good morality. It won't be self-serving or egotistical or corruptible. None of that stuff.
And where will it come from? Themselves?
Yeah, they're going to write
moral because I am moral.
Yeah. If I write the morality, there's going to be a ton of benefits. There's going to be a ton of them. And
I love that argument. I'm moral just because I have morals.
Yeah.
Well, from where? What's your guide to that? Like, how do you know you are? Like, well, I just know. Just know things.
In Shallow Hal, do you remember Shallow Hal? By the way?
Yeah.
And he said, well, what is really beauty? And you know what the line was? Third party perspective, right?
Oh.
So having a third party judge whether or not it is, right? So if morality would be judgment and shame and telling you when you do wrong, even if it makes you feel freaking bad.
You know what is such an uplifting show?
What?
And I've mentioned this before. We've talked about Love on the Spectrum, the show. If you want to watch such a beautiful example of people looking at the inner beauty of people, like that's that show, because I don't think that way, unfortunately, because I have been ingrained with the shallowness that is our culture. I'll watch these people on the spectrum, because if anybody doesn't know Love on the Spectrum, it's people on the autism spectrum, and they're trying to find love, and they hook them up with different dates and everything. And people who are ingrained in the culture we are might see a date coming and be like, oh my God, they're not attractive. It's very awkward. That would be terrible. And you see these people just light up. Oh my gosh, we have so much in common and they're so nice and they're sweet and they did this to me. And it's like, look at like the bare bones of how it should be.
Oh, all right. Let me take this. Let me read Michael read first. It worked out great for Jesus. Give up your short earthly life to save the eternal lives of everyone in the world. What a selfless move. Absolutely. So, okay. So Neuralink, all right.
Yeah.
They map the entire brand. They take a regular human being and you take somebody with autism. They map it out. They know all the parts of a regular, normal functioning human brain. They know all the parts that make you behave the way that you do. And so a lobotomy doctor says, hey, we haven't been in practice for a long time. Let's get back in. I'm going to come up to you. We're going to drill a couple holes. We're going to take out all of the parts that make you worse than the person who's doing the should be side. Would you take on autism on purpose to rid yourself of all the things that you judge regular people versus those autistic, pure, good-natured people that you see on the spectrum?
No,
you wouldn't. You'd keep those. So wait, whoa. You just said
nice thing
no. You just said it's nice and it's valuable and you wish more people. You have the choice now that you could become that and be a better person. Would you do it?
It would feel risky. It would feel like I put myself in a vulnerable position. Like if I was the only one who did it, but everybody else left it.
We mapped it. So the parts that make you worse than the person on autism, we zap those parts. We're not going to rip full lobes.
Like we're going to take out like some vanity, maybe some prejudice.
Yes. We're going to break your brain in all the right parts that make you more pure and virtuous, like an autistic.
Like in Shallow Hal, you're going to just see the inner beauty.
Even if the rest of the world doesn't see it, the wiring that makes you see things that you don't like is gone, and we can sculpt your brain into being a better person.
That sounds intriguing. It still sounds scary.
Okay.
Would you do it?
Maybe. I mean, you really have the ability to do it with, neurological and, brain processing, but you are breaking your brain. Yeah. You're absolutely, breaking it. That's an interesting concept. Would we, and do you think autism is the next sort of like evolutionary branch where that is how we're evolving into that more pure being? Or do you think it's below and that is a previously unevolved version of us?
I mean, the fact that it is so much more prevalent feels like it's going
Evolution
that
in that direction.
Yeah.
Okay. Could be.
Now maybe one day we'll pinpoint an exact reason why it's more prevalent, or a reason why some people end up with autism and some people don't. And then maybe change can be affected with that. But until then, it is more prevalent. So, I mean, one could only assume then that we're going, the more prevalent it is, the more
that might be the norm.
Yeah.
That's an interesting deal. Like, all right. So if you had, psychedelics, we were just all over the place. We had right to sell
psychedelics.
Okay. So a lot of ego death could happen through use of psychedelics. Okay. So
ego death of your ego?
Yeah. Death of your ego.
Really?
You the first conversation we ever had about this?
Well, I mean, no, but it's just an interesting concept that the ego would die.
So really what it take when you do psychedelics, you get vision into a world that you had it all wrong. So it almost kills your ego because it humbles you into the fact that there is way more going on than you were aware of. And so you went from I feel really smart to like, holy shit, I have no idea what's going on. So your ego goes like, right?
Okay.
And you start questioning things that you knew before. And that's, I think, an ego death, especially in like, if I can get Trump to do some mushrooms or something like that and watch his ego, I wonder what Trump would be like without ego, if there would be anything there.
I still feel like when we talk about like brain altering substances like these, it sounds like there are two ways to look at it. To me, it almost like when you describe things, it sounds like there is this literal whole other universe you enter. And then another side is like, no, you're still here. You're still you. It's still the same brain. You're just firing off things in the brain differently.
Yes.
It's not like you're entering a new realm or a new whatever.
A person that hasn't done that would say that. That would be the perspective.
Do you believe if you take something,
yes,
you are literally entering a universe, a realm, a sphere, a layer of something that is an actual existence? You are transforming. Like we hear people say, well, when you dream, where do you go? You don't actually go anywhere. It's inner workings of the brain.
So everything around us is information.
Yeah.
And when you take a substance that gives you access to new information, it is real. Everything that is real or you would consider real is just information.
Okay. If someone takes a drug and all of a sudden they hallucinate and see a purple elephant, is that purple elephant real?
No.
So what's the difference between that and something else they would experience?
It's information. If you look at the concrete of what you have access to information and you don't translate it to what you're seeing and why you're seeing it and whatever, then yeah, you missed the point. If you had access to information, you got hung up on a visual of some kind. But it's the depth of when you open like a third eye and you get to see things, you have to make sense of it and see how to incorporate it in your thought process and whatnot.
So like I was watching this podcast about this guy who's like a sleep and dream expert. And he was talking about, the inner workings of the brain. And I knew. I was like, oh, we only got 5 minutes. And basically saying that what your brain is doing and how you're seeing these images, but everything is just very symbolic of something that your brain is trying to work out. It could be something you saw that day and then you just see it in a different way. It could be something that's kind of bothering you deep down to the point that you don't even realize it's been bothering you, but it kind of manifests symbolically into something else. And it's up to you to figure out what your body's trying to tell you.
So if you didn't have eyes and then I did something to you that for the first time you open your eyes and you have all of this new information, you never saw what a wall looked like, you know what light is, you know what color is and whatever, you would have to warm up to the new information and know how to process it. You might have heard about some certain things, but you'd have to make sense of it for yourself to know what all of that stuff means and how to work with it and what advantages and what disadvantages it has. It's the same way. You get new information and you got to figure out how to interpret what that new information means.
How weird is it though that Everything is supposedly everything is very personal to us. We have these images, we have these interpretations of our own thoughts that our brain is trying to do. But then you have these universal teeth falling out, flying, trying to run, but you're in slow motion. Universal images that we all share. Why? Isn't that crazy?
Mhm.
Like, why are there universal symbolic things?
Third-party perspective. See, that's the answer for everything for the remaining part of the show. Third-party
Third-party perspective.
In order to have language, in order to have communication, you have to have standards of what things mean and what things are. And through communal, like parents, kids, neighborhoods, whatever, you pass down the interpretation of that information. So your parents teach you what red is, right? And then you just know what red is.
How does that make all of us at one point or another dream that our teeth are falling out?
I don't have an answer for that.
So crazy.
You talk to a psychologist and say that has some psychological, interpretation
said, it could
of
mean something different for everyone.
For sure.
It could mean something different to you than it does for me, but we still have
and that's what I'm saying, like
image.
Getting hung up on the superficial part is what normal people would do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
When you're seeing something that has depth beyond, it's not a physical interpretation. It could be a psychological interpretation. It'd be a communication there's all kinds of things. And that's what you have to figure out is what you're getting new information. What is it? How do I use it? What's its utility?
I struggled with a long time with not this reoccurring dream, but a reoccurring theme, different setting, different places, different things, but the same thing, the same outcome, the same horrible feeling in this theme. And just recently, I was talking about it with somebody. I was working it out in my head and I went, oh my God, it's this. That's got to be what it means. It's my struggle with this. And I've not had that dream since. We'll see if it comes back. But I was like, that's what you're supposed to do. You solve the issue, imagery goes away.
Yeah. I hear dry needling helps with that.
Yeah.
It gets rid.
Yeah, I know.
All right, catch you next time. MLO Bros will be back tomorrow, and Kellen and I will catch you next week.
See ya.